I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world, and that's our job.
Tell me why, tell me why, tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties, sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right. Happy Friday to everyone. It is starting to feel and look like springtime, and I am glad about it. Although, to be completely honest, I did want a little cold weather where I could wear my Christmas present. It's furry and pretty, and I didn't get a chance, but I am happy that with no more snowmageddons and the sun seems to be coming out, aside from the fact that we have tornadoes and hurricanes. Shout out to the people of New Orleans who are trying to piece their lives back together again. You know, we've moved on in the news. We're not talking about New Orleans. I got a text message from a native that said that his mother was saying that in St. Bernard Parish, the police officers were going door to door, and that they were saying it was worse than Katrina. So our hearts and prayers and minds are with our brethren in New Orleans, because of course the world has moved on. Nobody's really talking about the tragedies of Lola, although New Orleans people do not say that. They kind of think that's a silly thing to say. We got that from the television. CSI New Orleans. That's the only CSI that I watch. Angelo is the CSI. I don't really watch them because I'm not really on cop shows. Like, my mama is always watching these westerns and Blue Bloods and Chicago Med and Chicago PD. Like, I'm over that. But I'm not really on those shows, but the one I will watch is CSI New Orleans. Maybe because I have such an affinity for the city and the people. I have to admit, Melanated Nation, that I love New Orleans. I had somebody tell me they didn't like New Orleans. I was like, what? You don't like New Orleans? Because I remember being in New Orleans, me and my mom, and we're waiting in a gentrified area of New Orleans. It was considered downtown, because uptown, they've gentrified that too. And so we're standing there, and there's a lot of our counterparts of a lighter hue, many of them standing around, and the girl walked up to us and said, how many in your party? I said, two. Just you and your mama? And I said, yes. And she said, come on, mama, I'm going to go ahead and seat y'all. And the people that were there before us kind of looked around. That's what I love about New Orleans, baby. They look out for their own. All right. So we got a lot of things to talk about today. I am going to talk about our dear sister, a sister and sister locks going to the Supreme Court. I love everything about that. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it feels coming out of my mouth, rolling off my tongue. Kitanji Brown Jackson. You know what I really think is interesting? Kitanji Brown Jackson, not only is this a sister with sister locks, but her last name is Jackson. Her married last name, her married surname is Jackson. I think that's so funny, since her husband is a white man named Jackson. This girl is destined to represent us on the Supreme Court. We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about, have you heard? And if you haven't, well, let me be the first. Clarence Thomas. They said he was sick. Oh, baby, let me tell you why he's sick. He's sick because they've gotten busted. Him and Ginni, Ginni, him and Ginni have gotten busted. We're going to talk about it all the way. We're going to delve all the way in this thing. This is Carl with the Black Tea Sip. Melanated Nation, stand up. I'll be right back in a minute. We got a lot to discuss today. Go grab your cups, baby. I'm going to fill it up.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud, and computer systems analysts are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
All right, and we're back. This is Cora with your black tea sip. Now, before the break, I told y'all, grab your cups, baby. I'm going to fill it up today. Hey, Tracy. So, listen, we got a lot to talk about. And what I want to say today, to start this show off, we have the lovely Lola. We're going to get into Lola's love life with us today. But I want to talk about, Lola, the fact, and I've said this before, the most disrespected creature on the planet is the black woman. The only person I think that can really have an argument with that would be the black man. But, you know, and I think there are times that he is valid when he says, no, I think that we take the number one spot. I think sometimes that may be valid. But in Kitanji Brown Jackson's case, here we are, Harvard-educated black woman. Now, understand, I did my research. I looked it up. Harvard is in the top 2 in the world as far as education. Mm-hmm. So she is Harvard educated. You said, well, what's number 1? It depends on what site you refer to, but Oxford is the only one that they will say is number 1 above Harvard. But there are some sites that have Oxford as number 2. So we are talking about in the top 2 in the world, Harvard is ranked. Kitanji is not only a graduate of Harvard Law, she's an undergrad of Harvard University. Now, let me say this. This says a couple of things. It says, one, that not only was she able to go from her middle class upbringing, in her blackness, both of her parents are HBCU graduates. What? Her father is the Bruz, 1966 Omega Phi. Stand up. And so this girl has a sense of blackness, of who she is. And she goes to Harvard. Not only does she go to Harvard and excel, you know, but she goes and gets her law degree from Harvard, which means that she is, in her blackness, she is accepting of who she is. We know that because her daughters, being biracial, have long flowing hair. And what does she do? She don't put weave in her hair.
She lock it.
She locks it. So this sister knows who she is in her blackness, okay? Mm-hmm. But she's also able to thrive at Harvard. Not once, twice. So here we are. You know, she's non-threatening. She got a job clerking for a U.S. Supreme Court justice. You know, so we know that she can function with her counterparts. Somebody would say, well, she married a white man. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
I want to say a whole lot about that.
Okay, I know you do. I see you chomping at the bit.
Because if we wasn't checking for her, why were you? Don't be mad. It's kind of like the black man that marries the white girl. We was not checking for him.
Well, let me say this. What's his name? That's in Atlanta now, the little singer, America. What's his name, Lola? Do you know the weirdo little boy? Looked like he used to eat his bone boogers or something. What's the boy's name?
Childish Gambit. Okay.
Him. What's his other name? Don't you have 2 names?
Yes, but he goes by, well, his music name is Childish Gambino.
And then what's his acting name?
It's an acting name.
Okay, so we don't know. He's kind of started down this rabbit hole and can't even get it out.
He's the director, writer of ATL.
Yes. So he made the comment about black women, and there was some article I read once upon a time, and he talked about black women did not want him. Well, he looks like a weirdo.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have all this money, you can't go get a line in the front and the back. Like, cut your hair. So, and I remember when I lived in Frisco, the barber that used to cut my boy's hair said, and he was having a very difficult time with his stepchildren because there was this belief system. Now, I don't know if it was true, okay, because I never surveyed anyone, but there was and I heard it more than once, where the black boys were not grooming themselves, not cutting the hair. You know, going to the barber shop is like a rite of passage, you know. They weren't doing that. And he wasn't cutting his stepboy's hair, and he was a barber with his own shop because the white girls that they were dating did not want them to be appealing to the black girls.
Oh, wow.
And so they would not, because now I didn't do a survey on that. I'm just telling you that's once upon a time is what's said. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so you had this, they took the happy nappy to a whole new, another level. Like in the 90s, you know, Atlanta, everybody was happy napping, and everybody's hair was all over their head. And I was like, ooh, there was some of them didn't need to do that. Like a perm can be your friend. And I remember thinking to myself, well, a lot of these guys don't really look like they not what we would want. So it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, we're not upset.
Well, I wasn't checking for him anyway.
Right.
You're
you
welcome
know,
to him.
And I feel like love is love. You ought to love who you want to love, and then ought to be all right. I just think people ought to make good decisions. You know, some people are trying to live their plantation fantasies out through you. I'm just going to drop that. And so you ought to be really careful about how you do what you do. Now, aside from that, Kitanji Brown Jackson's husband is a surgeon. I mean, he not, you know, the middle school teacher teaching science who couldn't,
No.
you know, always wanted to be a doctor.
Couldn't pass.
Yeah, you know, he is a surgeon. Now, when I looked at him with his legs crossed and his polka dotted socks, I said, I wonder who's picking at this white brother's clothes, because it had a little too much
Like,
swag in it.
yeah.
Didn't it have a little too much swag? I said, did he grow up with us? He looking a little bit like
He said he went
us.
to prep school.
You know, so I'm like, who is dressing him? Because he had a little too much swag. And I said, well, you know. And I did.
Even leaning back in the seat,
Oh,
like, that's my girl.
That's my woman. He had real swag. I mean, he was like, and then when they were coming for her, I was like, oh, is he gonna get up? Because he was looking like, you know, Mr. Jackson. I ain't never met a white man named Jackson. I was like, this is just all coming together for us. You know, I mean,
It wasn't like Stewart.
it wasn't Montague. I mean,
you know.
It was. I was like, oh, okay. Brown Jackson.
Brown
And when
Jackson.
she said her last name was Jackson, I said, oh. And then I looked and I said, oh, this done went sideways on me. I thought it was going one way and went a whole nother. Now, I looked in the daughters, you know, they sat on every word and paying attention to their mother, and I thought that it was completely unkind the way that they had to witness their mother being treated. But I also thought it was a tutorial for us all of how to keep our composure, because she was berated and belittled and badgered. And I would have said, which is a legal term, asked and answered, which is usually what a judge says when an objection is made and the attorney is really coming for the witness and he keeps asking the same question over and over and over. And usually they ask it a different way, but it's the same question. And so you make an objection and you say, Your Honor, you know, he's badgering the witness, asked and answered. And the judge usually says sustained, because once the question has been asked, it's in the record. You don't need to continue to do that. Even though this is not a court of law, the hearing, it's on the record. Not only is it on the record as their own personal written transcript, it's on the record for all of frickin' America. It's being broadcast everywhere. I got some segments from YouTube. It's on the frickin' record. So you don't need to keep asking this woman the same question. They have asked her about sexual assault, pedophilia, and and of course that's because she's soft on crime, supposedly, because all Democrats are soft on crime. Like, no Democrats wants people locked up. That in itself sounds like lunacy.
Yeah.
But they also came for her for what's the other one that escapes me? A sexual assault. And it's one other one that they continue to ask the same question over and over and over again.
Anti-racism, I thought it was,
well, they came out about CRT because she wrote a brief about it, but it was an abortion, because she talked about people in that particular case that they were yelling and screaming. And for those that were born in Dallas, you know full well what Rose something. There used to be an abortion clinic. You ride down the street, and those people would be honking and standing in the street, holding up fetuses that was, I mean, these are not nice people. I don't care what McCullum says, and we'll talk about that. We got to take a quick break. Hold that. She got something to say. Put your finger in the air so you don't forget Lola. We'll be right back. This is Court with the Black T-Sip.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel, titled I Am, follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
Got them days. Took you a whole year to bounce back. Took me a couple days. You hitting licks, I'm getting rich. I'm hitting C notes. Watch what you say. I got a pick. I can show you what he know. He can do tricks. He with the shit. Do what I tell him to. If he get at you, I plead the fifth. I didn't tell him to. I hit the block. The block was hot. I had to drop the top. Remember the name. Never forget the face. I'm coming back. Won't now. Go get your phone now. Yeah. Won't now. Go get your phone now. You should watch me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. I be on my grind. Bitches think I hit the lotto. You should watch me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. Bitches think I'm lying. Nah, I ain't hit the lotto. Oh, now. Go get your phone now. Cause I'm in a zone now. This is my town. Turn off the lights now. Cause I'm shutting shit down. Send the shots to all my haters. No, I don't promote violence. Where is the waiter? Sign autographs later. Then I gotta go. Sign autographs on the back of my check. Minding my business. Yeah, that's a bet. Baby, my entourage ready to flex. Pop rubber bands. See, we neck to neck. Running the race. I got who's next. How does it taste? Pick up the pace. I'm on a new page. My honey's fresh. Like they just came out of a suitcase. Won't now. Go get your phone now. Go get your phone. Won't now. Go get your phone now. You should watch me shine. Look like I hit the lotto. I be on my grind. Bitches think I hit the lotto. You should watch me shine. Look like I hit the lotto.
All right, and we're back. Watch me shine. If you're an independent artist, or you know some independent artists, go ahead and send it to talkblacktSip@gmail.com. Talk, like that's what I'm doing right now. talkblacktSip@gmail.com. And we will get that music on the radio, we want to support independent artists from around the globe. So if your music is hot, we'll play it here. All right, we're talking about Kitanji Brown Jackson, and we're talking about, I just love the fact that she's married to a white man and her last name is Jackson. But we were talking about the way she was treated during the confirmation hearings. And I, in particular, started this conversation off by saying the most disrespected creature on the planet is the black woman. And so one of the things that we were talking about is, and I want to talk about this abortion. So they said that she had vilified what is called street counselors. Okay, so street counselors are the people who stand out there and shout and yell at you and tell you don't kill your baby.
Not even protesters.
Right, because there's no protected class for this, right? They're just out there yelling and screaming. And so Lola and I were talking about, there was an abortion clinic here in Dallas that was, very well known. I went to school out north, very well known. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And they would stand in the street and stop cars. They would have images of distorted fetus. I mean, it was horrible.
It was gory.
And it was gory, and it was traumatizing for young people. And so my thing about this right to life group, this mentality is, y'all are so concerned about babies that are not here, but it's folks on death row that are innocent and you don't give a crap about them.
There are babies here that you don't give a crap about because they're in the system.
That's right.
In a whole house or a whole building with 100 other babies that no one has. Start an adoption agency or, what is it called? Foster care. If you're concerned about life.
Right. I just think, I don't know how you can support death penalty and then be, pro-life. It's like an oxymoron. I'm not fluent in it, but I know it when I hear it. So here we are with them painting a picture of Kitanji Brown Jackson as being vilifying these people. And they had this woman, this little old lady, she's about 850, named McCullum. The right do such a good job of storytelling. And she talks about how she walks up into him and she gives him a card and she says, "Can I help you?" Well, unless you, the doctor, what are you talking about, ma'am? And then she said that she had a woman called her and said that her daughter, she was going through her 3-month-old album and she saw her card there under her picture. And I'm trying to figure out, well, if it's a 3-month-old album, why you got a card under a 3-month picture? Why it ain't under the newborn picture? But okay, I've digressed. And so then she goes on to talk about how that woman called her and the daughter, her name was Rose, and she had turned 18 and she was graduating from high school and she was going to college and she was the joy of their lives. I don't know who they are. And she was so happy to tell that story. And I said, this sounds contrived and made up. This don't even sound true. Because that woman should have been sitting next to Miss McCullum. I mean, you want to bring the story on home. It just sounds very contrived. But the idea that as the same judge that they confirmed twice before is now unworthy of the seat because of these things. Because these things would have been the same things. So I just thought it was horrible. Angela, do we have a clip of Lindsey Graham? Do we have that clip? Kind of go to the middle because it's a really long clip, if we have it. Where Lindsey Graham, I hope Lindsey Graham gets butt cancer. I don't know if that's a thing, but I hope he gets it right on up to hoo-ha. Because Lindsey Graham, if it had been a court of law, it would have said, facts not in evidence. He continued to berate this woman about things she had no control of. He talked about how the Democrats treated Amy Barrett. What's that got to do with Kitanji Brown Jackson? With the white husband named Jackson? What does that have to do with her? Nothing. He talked about how they wanted to confirm 20 years ago, they wanted to confirm a black woman that was a conservatist, and for 2 years they blocked her. Okay, 20 years ago, this woman didn't know what she was gonna be. So
yeah, and that has nothing to do with her being in the seat she's in now. Like, has absolutely why people blocked her. That is between you and your peers, not her.
And I mean, You know, after Clarence Thomas, we don't want no more black conservatives.
No, or Tim Scott.
So we don't want no more of that. You had Scalia. Everybody thought Scalia was a butthole. I mean, so we don't want those kinds. So if the Democrats decided that they were not going to support this woman, well, I'm sure they had good reason. Because if you were for Lindsey Graham, I hope you get butt cancer. Then we probably, rightfully, we should have been against her.
Let me say this. The John Lewis bill that keeps getting rejected, there's only one senator, Republican senator, that's supporting. What are there? 2 black senators that are Republican? Well, I know Tim Scott is one of the black senators, and he's not supporting the John Lewis bill.
Let's speak to that. There was a black woman, and I'm sorry, her name escapes me, and she's an attorney, constitutional attorney for an organization. I'm gonna get it. We're gonna go to break and pull it up. But she said because this brief that Kitanji Brown Jackson wrote that dealt with what is it? You know, critical race theory, CRT. Okay. So she said that she should not be confirmed. This black woman, her weave was not good. This black woman sat there and said that Kitanji Brown Jackson should not be confirmed because in a brief she referenced critical race theory. I was like, where do they find these coloreds?
And they're always Mississippi, deep down in the South.
Well, and she was Jamaican. So, let me talk about that real quick. This whole thing that our blackness is one, okay? That this is some kind of religion of monolithic proportions, that all black people run the same channels, right? Is stupid. This woman does not consider herself African American because she's not. She's Jamaican American. Now, is she of the diaspora? Yes. Ding dong.
Yeah. You came up
but
with
I'm
us.
sure she also found problems with Kamala. Now, I can't prove that it's just a gut feeling. She didn't like Kamala either. Kamala, Jamaican. So I just find these kinds of coloreds, I'm not going to refer to, they're colored. They're not black, they're colored. Because black is a state of mind. I find these coloreds remarkable, but where are they getting them from? Like, what happens in your home, in your life, that switches your mind to tell you to publicly come out against another black woman that has done you no harm? And now it's a bunch of y'all I don't particularly care for, but I don't say nothing. I keep it to myself. Only close friends know how I feel for real. Because what I won't do is get out here and vilify a black woman. Now, if she is out here really causing us harm and damage, then I probably am going to say something because it's in my nature. But just because we have a disagreement, maybe on fundamental principles of black life, I don't see the need to come out and vilify her. And what that young woman should have done, because it's okay to say no, is decline. Just don't be a part of it. You don't have to agree, but you don't have to publicly disagree. And I thought that was very telling, that they wedged her between a white woman and a white man, and she came out and said that Kitanji Brown Jackson should not be confirmed because of critical race theory. Now, this idea about critical race theory, critical race theory is taught in some colleges, and it basically says there is systemic racism. This is how it started. This is what's going on with it. How do we end it? That is what critical race theory is. I mean, in a nutshell. I'm being, I'm making it very simplistic because, of course, there are so many nuances to it. But that's basically what it's about. And it's not even taught in all colleges. So she referenced it in a brief. Now, how she referenced it in that brief, I don't know. I don't have the brief. But I thought that it was interesting that this woman would talk about that as if she had some inside knowledge about it. And I also thought it was very interesting that they were able to continue to berate her about the same issue over and over and over again. So aside from this abortion thing, where she wrote in the brief that that street counselors, anytime it's street, something wrong with street pharmaceuticals, street worker, street sweeper. You know, whenever it's street in front of it, it's a problem. It's a problem. They street counselors, okay? And so then, you know, she talked about they were loud, volatile. In that particular case, perhaps they were. She's referencing that incident, not all street counselors. So then they have little white-haired McCullum, who clearly was lying, because she says she helps them with education. I'm like, how are you helping these people? She's saying the website's on there. She never referenced an organization. So you're a liar, Miss McCullum. You know, I pictured her like the lady who lured Hansel and Gretel in and tried to cook them in the oven. Like that's what she looked. That's how she looked to me. She didn't seem to be on the up and up. Let's just put it that way. And so with that being said, I was like, okay. Now Miss McCullum says, oh, and that's just not true. No, I don't do that. I give them my card. And on the back it says love and help and faith, and I'm just a good white lady, and I save all the little babies. And
I even adopted one.
And yes, and
he's gonna play basketball.
And he's colored.
But he's 4.
I like all the colors. That's just how she came across to me. And so I'm like, okay, so here we are. This woman they're now alluding to the fact that she's saying this about all of them. Well, have we forgotten that these street counselors were also the ones that were throwing bombs into abortion killings not so long ago and were killing people, doctors and patients and the babies they were trying to save?
Yeah, like you throwing bombs in places where you're trying to save people. And I remember being like a senior in college, and I was with my dad in the car, and my dad is a pastor of a Baptist church.
Y'all will not believe this girl's a PK. Go ahead, Lola.
No. But anyway, we were in the car and we were driving and we were headed to church, and there was an abortion clinic sitting on the left-hand side, and there were all these street counselors. And in the car, it was dead silence. And my dad was like, there is no God in this. There is none. And this is a faith leader, Christian, all the things that America believes we stand on. Sitting and really taking in the fact that these street counselors are not doing this in good faith or in the
name of Jesus, like they're saying they are,
or the will of God.
That's right.
And so, in the reality of the situation is, you shouldn't be able to pick and choose when you're going to
like
use
it's a smorgasbord. They doing Golden Corral kind of religion.
You know, it's just ridiculous because it is an oxymoron that you believe in the death penalty, but the same baby you wanted to save becomes a murderer. So now we're gonna kill him.
Right.
I'm so confused. So if you're going to help, but don't hurt while you're helping. That's no help.
That's no help. I agree. That is no help. And I think it's very interesting. I think it's really interesting that people go as far as to say this person is like this because of one sentence in a brief, and then come out and vilify her. Angela, we had a clip.
I have the opening statement clip. The Graham one is still downloaded because it's a longer one.
Okay. Which one is the opening statement?
John Hawley's opening statement and Jackson's approval.
Yeah, let's play a little bit of that one. We're gonna do John Hawley's a Republican senator, and he's backing up Lindsey Graham. So we're still downloaded, but he's backing up Lindsey Graham, attacking Kitanji Brown Jackson. But kind of listen to the tone, the intonation, and what he says. How it's all tongue in cheek. You know, it's backhand compliments. It is racism in unadulterated discretion. That's how I'm using that term. All right, let's go ahead and play the clip.
Judge, congratulations on your nomination. It's nice to see you again. Congratulations to all of your family. I know that this is a big moment for you and for them, and rightly so. I enjoyed our meeting a couple of weeks ago. You know, as I've said to folks who've asked about it, one of the things I particularly appreciated about our meeting, besides how much time you gave me, was how candid and forthcoming you were, which I really respected. And I look forward to a candid conversation again in the days that come. And by the way, I'm admiring how you're sitting so stoically through all this senator talk. But I'm looking forward to visiting with you again. You did me the honor when we sat down of being very candid, and I hope I was candid with you. I've been candid since. I want to be candid with you today so you know exactly what it is I want to talk about, and so you know exactly where my head is at. So let me say a few things that I'm concerned about, aspects of your record that trouble me. This will come as no surprise. I've said it in public already, but I want to be, again, very candid in the interest of an open and honest discussion and specifics. So here are, I hope, in the next couple of days, some of the cases from your time on the court, the district court, the federal district court, that I hope that we can talk about. Let me just run through a few of them so you know exactly which ones I mean. United States versus Hawkins. This was a child pornography case where the defendant distributed multiple images of child porn, possessed dozens more, including videos. The federal sentencing guidelines recommended a sentence of 97 to 121 months in prison. Prosecutors recommended 24 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 3 months in prison. United States versus Chazen. That case, the defendant possessed 48 files of child pornography. The federal guidelines recommended 78 to 97 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended the same. Judge Jackson sentenced him to 28 months. United States versus Cooper. There, the defendant possessed dozens of images of child pornography and distributed dozens of images of child pornography, possessed over 600. The federal guidelines recommended 151 to 188 months in prison. That's a long time. The prosecutor recommended 72 months. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 60 months, which was the lowest sentence permitted by the law. United States versus Down, that's a case where the defendant distributed 33 graphic images and videos of child sexual assault to an anonymous messaging app, unfortunately a practice that's becoming more common. The federal guidelines recommended 70 to 87 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 70 months in prison. Judge Jackson sentenced him to only 60 months. Again, that's the lowest level that was permitted by law in that case. United States versus Stewart, the defendant there distributed scores of images of children suffering sexual abuse. The guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 97 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave him 57 months. In United States versus Sears, the defendant distributed over 100 videos of child pornography. The guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 97 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave him 71 months. In United States versus Savage, the defendant was convicted of traveling across state lines to engage in sexual intercourse with a child and also possessed 6 separate.
I find it interesting.
All right, so you get the gist of where they're going with this. They're saying she's soft on crime and that she believes that people who are pedophiles and commit sex acts against children should not be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. And while we were watching the video, Lola said to me, well, wait a minute now. All we're getting is the prosecution suggested this or recommended this sentence. The guidelines say this, and the judge gave them that. Now, there's a big conversation about the fact that they don't have all of the details.
Right. Because this could be a 18-year-old and a 16-year-old. And although when you turn 18, you are considered an adult, and when you are 16, you are still considered a child. If they're doing sex tapes and they're distributing them, then it's still child pornography, and he is still considered an adult. But we all know that 18-year-olds are just as dumb as a 16-year-old, and a 16-year-old, it may not be smarter than a 5th grader. So at the end of the day, we don't have all the facts. You're painting a picture like it was a 5th grader and an old man,
70-year-old man.
We don't even know if that's the case.
We have children, black boys in particular, that are in prison right now because, and one was an athlete in, I can't remember if it's Mississippi or Alabama. It's a big deal. He had to register as a sex offender, and they sent that boy to prison because he had a girlfriend when he was 17, who was 16, and the girl was coming over his house. I mean, it wasn't like he was forcing himself. They charged that boy with rape, which is a sexual assault, and put him in prison. To Lola's point, if a 17-year-old boy or 18-year-old boy, but 17 is when they throw you away, could have pictures of a 15-year-old girl that she sent him, that is considered child pornography on his phone. So I just want to be really honest about, we don't have all the facts of why she decided, no, this sentence is not the sentence they need to give him. I certainly don't think a mother of 2 children is thinking that it's all right for these men to are committing child sex acts because they said, oh, it gave, they recommended 97 months. She gave them 71 months. Well, okay, what we do know is that our counterparts, they don't show any compassion. I'm not saying the child sex offenders, because I got 2 boys, and I know I'm going to the penitentiary. I've told my children when they were little, and we still calling it private business. So don't touch it, don't look at it, nothing. I know my younger son told my older son, I have to take my shower now, and you can't be in here looking at my private business. You need to brush your teeth in the other bathroom. So I have instilled in my children this mindset. I don't believe that this woman is cavalier about sex crimes.
No, I don't
but we
either.
don't have all the information, and what the Republicans want to purport about her is that she is
she's forgiving of
child pornography and sex acts against children. And I think that's unfair, and the reason I bring this up is because a while back we worked on a campaign with Simone Redwine. Jasmine Crockett is now running for Congress. I'm not a fan of Jasmine Crockett, y'all know that. But
neither am I.
Well, and the reason I'm not, I didn't know who she was. I didn't even know the girl breathed air before that campaign. But she thought that Simone was dating Lee Marriage. She was not. I'm dropping names because that's what I do. So Simone was not dating or fooling with or screwing or whatever term y'all want to use Lee Merritt. There was actually somebody else that was doing that was running for a campaign, but I'm not going to call that girl's name because she ain't done nothing to me. And that's her business. And she with somebody else. So let me not do that. However, Simone Redwine was not fooling with Lee in any way. Now, the rumor is, and I do not know if this is true, allegedly, Jasmine and Lee had something going on at one time. And Lee quit fooling with Jasmine. Well, if you see her, she was probably just a means to an end, but that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't really have a lot of information. And so she said out of her mouth, it was overheard by someone that Lola and I both know, said that she said if Simone runs against Audrey Moorhead, it's going to be a complete smear campaign like you've never seen before. Now, that's what she said. Now, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's what she said. And then she went to enact that smear campaign. And when I got involved with the campaign and I brought Lola into the campaign, it was very late in the campaign. But we got involved because, and here's my thought. It's one thing on a campaign, or it's one thing if you fundamentally disagree with this nominee. But to put them in a position to ruin their livelihood and their reputation based on a political agenda, well, now, that's when I draw the line, and that's just wrong. And that's exactly what they're doing. We come back, we're going to play a little bit more of his. We're going to fast forward, and we're going to let you hear how he badgered and berated her. And then Lindsey Graham, who ought to get butt cancer. And Ted Cruz, too, but I don't have Ted Cruz because I can't look at his face.
Ted Cruz is like the relative you just don't ever claim. Like, people be like, when you say you're from
your
Texas,
cousin?
yeah, you be like, no, he's not. It's kind of like when people say, oh, you from Texas, like, Ted Cruz is,
he's the uncle to get drunk and say inappropriate things and don't nobody like to go around because they ain't quite sure how he gonna get down.
You don't
he's
even
one
want
of those.
to tell nobody that you know him.
And Abbott, too. I just want him to governor roll away. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip in a minute.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud and computer systems analyst are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
Over a year ago, we gave you the marquee. Luther Vandross and his bros and queens. Abundantly satisfying, we did more than please. Made you party a bit and put your mind at ease. And then we spoke on everything else in between. We ain't come for the shine, but we left with the rated highly approved. Put you back in the mood. Gave it to DJs who put the needle to the groove. All star, all minus, all par. Booth the V, send Q, and we are loose cannons, no comparisons by far. We do what we do when we are who we are. Dope music, high jump, raise the bar. So soothing, we do what they are. The vision would seem like Stevie and Ray Charles. In the hazy room, fat sacks and fat gauze. Yeah.
Back to back, nice partying. Only stop to pray and then we start again. Just live today and let the rest go. We already know the way, baby, let's roll. And get back to the groove. Back to the basics, back in the mood. Back to the music, back to the truth. Back to the proof, I'll be watching over you. Coming back, things, big dreams, I'm still big, and it's the big time. Bright lights in the big city, big ego. Pockets getting bigger, big Nino. Big under pressure, hit some pretty big free throws. I've been cold, started a fire, still froze. I am someone you should admire. The eye of the tiger. From now on, address me as sire. The situation could be more dire. Deep sea diver, from out the frying pan to the fire. MCs be like backseat drivers, tell them buckle up. Big trucks, we riding big wheels. Big pump, big tuck, bitch, I'm a big deal. Bigger the cap, the bigger the billing. The bigger her ass, the better the feeling. The bigger the bag, the hyper the show. I take it in cash and 20s and more.
All right, and we're back. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. You know, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Kitanji Brown Jackson and her hearing. And I want to fast forward a little bit because before the break, we were talking about how Holly, a Republican senator, how he does these backhand compliments. Like, he starts out by telling her, I appreciate. He says he uses the word candor like 11 times. I counted before, but it's like 11 times. But so basically, he's suggesting that she may not be truthful in this moment. And that he appreciates her candor, and he's going to be candid with her. And, you know, and it's all very clandestine. You know, he sets her up so he can take her down. And so he goes on to use all of these child sex cases to suggest that she's soft on crime. Because now here's the thing you may not realize. The Republican narrative is that Democrats are soft on crime, and that Democrats don't believe that people should be punished, because the Republicans are all about discipline, punishment, back the blue, well, at least until, you know, it was the insurrection. Then it would just take them all down. They didn't care. Let's play a little bit of Holly's, but let's fast forward a little bit because I want you to hear how he talks to her.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When it came to Judge Childs, this Arabella group, Senator Whitehouse, you talk about dark money, you may be onto something. This Arabella group is funded by Soros and some other liberal billionaire. They got so many groups within their group, I can't name them all now, but they...
Judge, congratulations on your nomination. Gave him 57 months. It's even worse than that. Just into 121 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 97 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave him 57 months. In United States versus Sears, said that the federal sentencing guidelines are too harsh on child sex crimes, especially child pornography. I've heard that argument a lot in recent days. The chairman quoted someone earlier today who takes that point of view. I'll just be honest, I can't say that I agree with that. I mean, the amount of child pornography in circulation has absolutely exploded in recent years. Here's a New York Times report from 2019, I'm quoting now. Last year, tech companies reported over 45 million online photos and videos of children being sexually abused, more than double what they found the previous year. The report goes on to say this: 20 years ago, these online images were a problem. 10 years ago, they were an epidemic. Now the crisis is at a breaking point. Unfortunately, it's even worse than that. Just last week, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported finding 85 million files of child pornography in 2021. And of course, this committee has heard testimony from prosecutors and others who are grappling with the problem of how to get at this porn and those who distribute it, how to prosecute them and hold them accountable. Here's my point. I think it's difficult against this backdrop to argue that the sentencing guidelines are too harsh or outmoded, or that we should be somehow treating child porn offenders more leniently than the guidelines recommend. But I want to be clear about this, that those arguments that I've just been rehearsing, those who say that, that's not what Judge Jackson has said. She hasn't had the chance yet to respond to this, and she deserves that chance. So others have made these arguments. I don't agree with them, but I think it's important we hear from Judge Jackson, and we'll have the chance to in coming days. And I think, again, the candor that Judge Jackson has shown previously, I look forward to, and she deserves the...
Because we're going to talk about Lindsey Graham. Now, you see that he is saying she has not done or said these things. Okay? Now, he starts out by saying they recommended this, she gave them that. They recommended that, she gave them this. Suggesting that she's giving them a lower sentence than the sentencing guidelines offer. And the sentencing guidelines in federal court, it's all shoots and ladders. It's basically, you know, this amount of money was fraudulent, so you get these amount of years. Or these amount of months, rather, because it's in months. It's in dollars amount in months. Okay, you have this amount of porn, you get this amount of, from a range, you know, from... 50 months to 62 months. And if you had, 25 pieces of pornography, if you had $800,000, you get, 120 months or, and that's how it's done. So it's basically shoots and ladders. So what he is saying is that there are articles written and other people are suggesting that the sentencing guidelines are too harsh. And that has been going on for a long time, since the crack epidemic, where it was powder cocaine versus crack cocaine, hard rock cocaine. They were saying that they were too harsh and that they showed a disparity between communities. The reason being is that the sentencing guidelines for federal judges is vastly different than state judges. State judges have just a plethora of options and a vast array of decision-making power. You don't have that in federal court. You are restricted to those guidelines. That dollar amount, these amount of months, this amount of porn, these amount of months, this amount of real estate, these amount of months. So you're restricted to that. So what's happening now is he's setting her up to suggest that because these people feel this way, that they should be lower. And because she made some lower sentences than the sentencing recommendations she is therefore soft on crime like all Democrats, and that they as Republicans should all vote against her. Now, here's the thing. There are 50 Republicans. There are 50 Democrats. We have a Democratic president and vice president, and Kamala Harris is a tiebreaker. Period. Now, so she's going to be confirmed unless you can pull some Democrats away. Well, okay, the suggestion is also you ought to be able to pull some Republicans. Mitt Romney said he voted for her last time, and he's not voting for her this time. Not sure why. Lindsey Graham has said he's not voting for her, but there are 3 other Republicans that said they are voting for her. They voted for her last time, they're going to vote for her this time. So this is to rally the base. Let's go kind of to the middle or close to the middle of Lindsey Graham. I want you to hear how he goes off, because again, I started this by saying the most disrespected creature on the planet is the black woman. We're going to play a little bit of that before we go to break. Angelo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Or they wouldn't have spent the money they spent to have you in this chair. So we're going to find out how that statement holds up over time. A viewer's guide to this hearing. She will be asked about her sentencing practices as a district court judge, and she'll have a chance to explain her reasoning, and you can make up for yourself what this means, but it's good to be asked. People on the left, the far extreme part of the left, believe that you were the best bet. And I want to know why they reached that conclusion. Maybe there's no explanation you can give us, but we'll talk about that. Now, when we say this is not Kavanaugh, what do we mean? It means that Democratic senators are not going to have their windows busted by groups. That's what it means. It means that no Republican senator is going to unleash on you an attack about your character when the hearing is virtually over. None of us, I hope, have been sitting on information about you as a person for weeks or months. You come into our offices and we never share it with you to allow you to give your side of the story. We wait to the very last minute when the hearing's about to be gavel concluded and say, oh, by the way, I've got this letter. And so happened that every media outlet in the country had the letter too. So the next morning there were headlines all over the country, really, accusing Judge Kavanaugh of being basically Bill Cosby. None of us are going to do that to you. And if any of us does that to you, all hell will break out, and it should. The media will...
A couple of things happened there. He referenced that woman to being like Bill Cosby, but if she were, they were not going to do that to her because that was done to Brett Kavanaugh. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come right back. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about Clarence Thomas. And we got to get into Lola's love life. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip. Stay with me because we're about to unpack this thing. The most disrespected creature on the planet is the black woman.
Hey, I'd like to invite you to listen to Dr. M, host of the Dr. Dolores McLaughlin program, Your Truth and Wisdom Communication Doctor, broadcasting live each week on Thursday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time from FBRN Studios in Arlington, Texas. Log on to hear uncompromised biblical truth to inspire effective communication for everyday living. You can expect to be blessed by a diverse group of guests who will encourage, inspire, and provide steps and resources to improve communication. This program is your program, which is our program, so be sure to log on each week, Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time to catch Dr. Dolores McLaughlin.
On Fishbowl Radio Network, jump in. Podcasters, the name of the game is to get more visibility for your podcast so you can gain more credibility with your audience, thus more profitability. If you're ready to start syndicating your podcast and massively grow your audience and influence, then contact Fishbowl Radio Network today at 817-633-4880. Fishbowl Radio Network is one of the largest streaming platforms in the world, and now your podcast can be heard all over the world by the listening audience that Fishbowl Radio Network has amassed over the last 11 years. With over 6 million impressions a month and growing, this is a platform that all podcasters should be on to create greater visibility for their podcast. Jump in today and be a part of the Fishbowl family, streaming great live internet radio shows and podcasts 24/7. 817-633-4880. Jump in.
Hey DFW, it's Luna and Nika, owners of Real Dallas Properties and Management, here to serve all your real estate needs. Nika, tell them what we do.
So we're a Dallas-based boutique real estate brokerage, and we're full service, which means we can help with every and any type of real estate transaction.
That's right, we got your back at every stage of life.
Whether you need an apartment, a home rental, to buying your first home, selling that home, buying investments, to even property management.
And don't forget commercial, looking for a new space for your business? We got you on that too. You can reach us on Instagram at Real Dallas Properties or shop all properties on the market at RealDallasProperties.com.
Hi, this is Diane Marion Eunice, and I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. For the past 9 years, I have worked with over 300 couples in the areas of sexual health, communication, and conflict resolution. If you are interested in rebuilding connection and intimacy with your partner, please contact me today. I can be reached at 682-201-8175, or you can email me at diane@letstalkrelationships.org, or visit my website at www.letstalkrelationships.org. And remember, you can't heal if you refuse to deal.
Attention, Kiko is hiring. You heard right, Kiko is hiring. Kiko is looking for you to fill the following positions: seamstress, machine operators, forklift drivers, loaders, packers, and baggers. 2 shifts are available. First shift Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Saturday, and 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. overtime. And second shift Monday to Friday, 4:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. Saturday, and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. overtime. Kiko offers great medical benefits just 30 days after hire and company match 401k. Visit us at kikohome.com alkiko.com and submit your resume to Cariano@alkiko.com. You can also apply in person at 5450 West Keith Boulevard in Dallas. All interviews are conducted in person. Don't miss this great opportunity. Get hired today at Kiko.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel titled I Am follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
Nourished skin is healthy skin. Simply Ardor skincare products provides luxurious nourishment for your body. Indulge in rich scrubs and body butters and top it off with our sensational and unique aromatic lines of sprays and roll-on fragrances. It's simple and lovely. Simply Ardor. Love is real. Just spread it.
Do you want to find a stable job in a growing field? IT jobs such as network systems administrators, cybersecurity, programming, cloud and computer systems analyst are expected to increase 25% by 2022. Texas Premier Technology Institute offers training for top certifications such as CompTIA, Cisco, and Microsoft in less than 12 weeks. And if you're unemployed or underemployed, you may qualify for free tuition. Contact TPTI at 1-888-490-TPTI or check them out on the web at tpti.us.
I'm not saying I'm going to rule the world or I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world. And that's our job.
Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Tell me why. Why can't we live together? Everybody wants to live together. Why can't we live together?
Hello, all you melanated beauties. Sun-kissed by God's lips. This is Coy with your black tea sip. I'm sipping power to pour you the truth. Go grab your cup. Let's fill it up.
All right, and we're back. This is Coy with the black tea sip. You melanated beauties, gods and goddesses, sun-kissed by God's lips. So we're here with Lola's Love Life. We'll get into it in a minute. But right now we're talking about Kitanji Brown Jackson. I said at the 11 o'clock hour that the most disrespected creature on the planet is the black woman. And so we're talking about Kitanji Brown Jackson. And before the break, you heard Lindsey Graham in her confirmation hearing talking to her, talks about Brett Kavanaugh and how he was basically blindsided, lambasted, and how they would not do that to her. They would be kinder to her than the Democrats had been to the Republicans previously in the confirmation hearing. And understand, you had Amy Coney Barrett, who just got confirmed before Kitanji, and then before her was Brett Kavanaugh. So he's, in the words of the old ancestors, he's reaching back to try to make a point at her expense. And you hear him constantly go off and berate her and talk to her and talk about her things that have absolutely nothing to do with her. And so now she has to carry that. And then he wants to ask her questions about things she could not possibly have an answer to in some way to demonstrate that she is inept or unqualified.
Yeah, and it's like, well, now you reaching, now you digging. And you sound, and it sounds like that, which means that you don't even have, what is it called? Like, you don't even have, like, a, 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 have any research or proof or anything to back what you're saying. Like, you just want to talk in the mic and let people know that you were at the hearing.
Yeah.
Like, that is exactly like, y'all are not going to miss me. I am here today, and I will not be silenced. And it's like, but you should have stayed silent.
You should have
You really
stayed
should have
silent.
stayed silent.
Or at least
because
come with something that's
the
tangible.
noise that you're making is so unbearable. It's humiliating as an American.
It is. It is.
You're again the cousin that when I go to Paris and they ask me about you, I have to explain that technically he's not really related. No, he's not one of us. He is there. So y'all don't get fired.
He's the person that they ask you, do you know him? And all your response is, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him.
Do we really know anyone in our lives? Like, how well do you know him? I don't know. I don't even know if I know myself well. Like, you really start to
try to explain away.
Yeah.
To explain away. It is embarrassing when you see, when the world is watching, because it is historic, first black woman, and then they hear these kinds of things. But I also think that it is a testament that you cannot disavow that black women are treated extremely poorly.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this is a testament to that. But I also think that it's a testament to Kitanji Brown Jackson's poise and composure, because Lord knows I'd have snapped off. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge the fact that when Barack Obama was president, and they had caricatures of Michelle Obama and painted her as an ape. That they maintained their composure. It is to disavow this idea that we are subhuman, that we are all violent and crazy.
Or have all those questions and all of those antics this week were to provoke her.
They were to provoke her.
Justify, because at this point, white people have to think, in no shade, but my opinion is you have to really think about how you view us, because how you really view us, and there is a black woman with natural hair and locks, and all of that's important because that's how you see us, sits there with great poise and grace. She's articulate.
Yes.
She doesn't deviate from the questions. She doesn't do anything that subconsciously you think she should be doing, because that is how you see us. And that makes you have to look in the mirror and recognize that in as much as you don't, just because you don't say the N-word doesn't mean you're not racist.
Well, because I could see his pointed hood poking out from under his jacket.
Yeah.
Like, we knew he got a 3K card carrying membership in his wallet. And it came out, and I think, to your point, the more they tried to attack her,
the more they got upset.
That's right.
Because here's the thing, the more you try to provoke someone and they maintain their poise and they sit with grace and answer the questions directly, that your idea of what's supposed to happen isn't happening. Now you're upset.
That's right.
Now you're getting frustrated because she didn't start. The only time we saw emotion is when Cory Booker told her, "Can't nobody steal my joy today."
That's right.
Ain't nobody.
It was black folk joy.
Yeah,
FOKE. Black folk.
I don't care what none
joy.
of these folks say today. I don't care what they say or do, they can't steal my joy. And that was the problem. She was supposed to be the idea,
the angry black woman.
Oh,
she was supposed to be the angry black woman.
To the fullest potential, regardless of her credentials and all of her success. They needed her to justify their idea of us, and they could. And she
did not give it to them. And I think it's really important for us to acknowledge this moment, not just her nomination, but I know we talked about before, this white husband, and I said on the show before that I think there is some thought process in this idea of elevating black women to certain power or positions of power, I should say, and prominence, because they're under the husbandry of a white man. I still think that. I mean, there's no tea, there's no shade. That's my thoughts, and I opine on this show. That's what I do. And so I think there's some going on there. I think that there is some credence there. But I also think that this woman has pulled him into her blackness and not tried to assimilate into his whiteness. And I think that is a factor. I mean, even if you look at who he is as a doctor, I mean, this man is not, he's not just a gastrointestinal surgeon. He is the chief of gastrointestinal department. Like, you know, she didn't just, you know, I know somebody told me, now this is terrible. Somebody said to me one time, well, Kamala Harris' husband is just an average white man. Just like, you know, he's not really doing a lot in business. He's just the average. I said people ought to love who they want to love, be with who they want to be with, and just make good decisions. Now, aside from all of that, I think that her darker skin, her hair, to your point, Lola, all of that, they framed an idea of her. And the idea that they had of her is very different, vastly different, I would like to say, than the idea they have of Kamala. You know, this girl is African American, and by virtue of being African American, it drops you down a little bit. I remember being in Florida in school, and they were asking me, are you European? Because if I'm European, now you hear my voice. What is European? But if I'm European, then they have a reason to be more tolerable because I'm not African American. Because the ideas they have of African American are purported by stereotypes and media and all of the things that you know, monkey-like and unintelligible and all of these things. You know, all of us are pulled up by bootstraps out of the jungle, make our way through the cotton fields, on into civilization, you know. And so this idea that they have of us, they have to contort it in their mind so that then they find a reason why they like us, why they gravitate to us, why they feel themselves wanting to know more about us and to be in our presence. And they must excuse that away by finding a rationale for the why, and the why is to not make you be who you are. When I was in high school, I had a boy tell me, well, you're not like a real black person. Oh, but I am. But he associated blackness with the kids that were coming out of the North Dallas projects, who didn't have the same experiences or exposure and parentage and family life that I had. That does not make me less black. It doesn't make them more black. It means our experiences are different, just like he would not be relatable to the people in the Appalachians who drink Mountain Dew all day long and don't have any teeth and can't spell MGM backwards. They would not have been relatable either. That doesn't make either one of them less white, or it doesn't elevate whiteness over the other. So we don't do that. I think we compartmentalize because we actually see people in so many different ways because of our blackness. Now, there are some that don't live the same black life experience. I get that. But Kitanji Brown Jackson, Kitanji Brown, let me put it that way, her life experience has been.
She from Miami.
Dade County. That's all we got to say. Everybody is sparked up. I mean, even the ones who get up and go to their white collar jobs got a grill in the drawer, baby. We talking about Dade County. She is the one who convinced her law firm to work to get her uncle out of prison. This girl she's not trying to assimilate.
Yeah.
She is the real deal. And they were not expecting to get what they got, because Amy Comey Barrett 3 or 4 times looked like she was gonna cry. She tuned up.
Oh, she
Brett
cried
Kavanaugh did cry.
Yeah, they all crack. But and you know, when you crack under pressure, I'm not saying you're always guilty, but it does make people question. Here, this woman isn't cracking under pressure because she's standing by what she says, and she's chuckling at you guys, which pisses y'all off even more because, you know, define the word. Can you define the word woman? Well, it's gender. And however you, with all that we have going on in our world, no, you cannot define that word. And she said it, I'm not a biologist. Now, my smart ass would have been like, honey.
I would have too, because when they started asking her about can a child feel pain, I would have said, excuse me, can I call a friend?
Can I call a friend? Dear. My husband's a surgeon, so maybe he can.
No, because that's when you turn and you real tongue in cheek. You look at your husband and you say, "Dr. Baby, they have a question for you."
Yeah.
You know, because we're not sitting here, you know, and her husband was getting very annoyed because the questions were, it was
the
idiocy.
woman who said, and then when they asked the senator from Mississippi State who got her degree in home economics. This is the,
This
like,
is the
wait,
truth.
I
This
mean,
is the
it's
truth.
just making it even worse. Like,
Right.
she didn't even get a political science degree. Listen, I'm a theater major, and I love that I majored in that. That is a true passion of mine. But your home economics self is gonna ask me the definition of a woman, and then get on the news and not have a definition yourself. Please sit down and have
Several
miss
seats.
Me, miss
Several
me.
seats.
And have several seats.
It was a conspiracy to contrive a narrative to take this black woman down. And I love, to your point, how Cory Booker, because see, this is how I see it playing out in my mind. It's like a play. Cory Booker rises to the occasion to defend this black woman. And he turns away from the table and looks directly at her and says, "No one
is gonna steal my joy."
Because this is the joy. So we've got the tape. I wanna play a little bit of their exchange. Lindsey Graham, who I hope gets butt canceled. Lindsey Graham.
Ask how many times she go to church.
And you know, this is just. There's no creature on the planet more disrespected than the black woman. Go ahead and run it, Angelo.
But do you personally believe that Al-Qaeda, ISIS-type groups are still at war with us?
I think, yes. I mean, I think we...
So we're still in a state of war with certain elements of radical Islam to this very day?
I believe that's documented, yes.
Okay. Now, what's the process to determine whether one's an enemy combatant under our law?
Well, I believe that the executive branch makes an assessment of whether or not someone is taking up arms against the United States somewhere in the world related to all of this.
Okay, so it's an executive branch function to determine whether or not this person qualifies as an enemy combatant.
Well, I believe that they make a
under current law.
Under current law, I believe that determination is made by the executive branch, and the person is detained, and then the question becomes whether they are able to bring some sort of legal challenge to that determination.
They have a habeas right.
Yes.
Okay, so the law is that they
have former federal judges who are friends.
The system works.
Respectfully, Senator.
Your position when you were in private.
Their positions before the court.
I'm sure everybody at Gitmo wants out. No, I got that. This is an amicus brief, and I just don't understand what you're saying, quite frankly. I'm not holding it against you because you represented a legal position I disagree with. I mean, that happens all the time. I'm just trying to understand what made you join this cause. And you say somebody hired you, but did you feel okay in adopting that cause? I mean, when you signed on to the brief, were you not advocating that position to the court?
Senator, as a judge now,
okay,
in order to determine the lawfulness or unlawfulness of any particular issue, I need to receive briefs and information making positions on all sides. And
I got what a judge is all about. Listen, I'm not asking you to decide the case in front of me right here. I'm asking me to explain a position you took as a lawyer regarding the law of war, and I am beyond confused. I know what you said in your brief. Whether I agree with it or not, it's not the point. I just want you to understand that it's important for all of us to know where you were coming from. If that brief had been accepted by the court, it would be impossible for us to fight this war. Because there's some people going to die in jail in Gitmo and never go to trial for a lot of good reasons, because the evidence against them is so sensitive we can't disclose it to the public. That we're not charging them with a crime. What we're doing is saying that you engaged in hostile activities against the United States, that you are an enemy combatant under our law, and you will never be released as long as you're a danger until the war is over or you're no longer a danger. That's the difference.
So now what you hear him doing is he's starting his narrative about how she doesn't care about what's going on with trying to keep America safe. So she is not patriotic. And that's the point I wanted to get to. This black woman is not a patriot, because the Republican Party and part of whiteness is to differentiate between who's a patriot of this country and who is not. And if you are considered 3/5 of a human being in the eyes of the person that's making the decisions about patriots and non-patriots, then you can't be patriotic. And so let's fast forward a little bit, Angelo, and let people hear how he starts to berate her further.
But do you personally believe
who are designated as enemy combatants for the duration of the hostilities? And what I was doing in the context of the habeas petitions at this very early stage in the process was making allegations to preserve issues on behalf of my clients. A habeas petition is like a complaint that lawyers make allegations.
You know, I've been a lawyer too, but I don't think it's necessary to call the government a war criminal in pursuing charges against a terrorist. I just think that's too far. I don't know why he chose those words. That's just too far. But we are where we are. So let's talk about the nomination process. Have you ever?
Didn't know that.
Would it bother you if that happened?
Senator, it is troublesome that people are or were doing things related to
I think that's the best way to say it. People have a right to speak out and pick the person of their choice. But all I can say is that if you miss the fact that there was an organized effort, well, here's President Biden has only a certain amount of political capital for keeping his party united. If he needlessly angers progressives on this SCOTUS pick, that could create all sorts of problems for him down the line. Jeff Hauser, revolving door projects. Let's see. I just got so many quotes. It's difficult to imagine someone with a record like Judge Childs winning votes from criminal justice advocates like Senator Cory Booker, even Dick Durbin. Childs' experience is nothing like the diversity of experience that the Biden administration has championed. Let's see. Picking her, Childs, would demoralize the base, side with corporate America. The fact that Lindsey Graham is vouching for her should give the White House pause. Our revolution, Joseph Gervangi, or whatever his name is, I'm sorry about that, Joseph. He's Bernie Sanders' PAC director. You didn't.
Now what he's doing is he's starting to talk about quotes that were being made about Kitanji Brown's I want to use the word appointment, but recommendation for SCOTUS. And he's using that, and she's sitting there and look at her face, how she's having to take that, because he's using other people's words to define her. How many times have we had to sit in a corporate America boardroom, conference room, meeting, Zoom, child, where somebody is telling you about you, and you don't have the opportunity to truly address the issues, and she's just having to sit there and to take it. I wanted to use that because it's really sad that part of her confirmation hearing is to use other people's words to define her instead of letting her credentials and her work speak for itself. Later on, you actually hear a black woman and a black man, and then there's a white woman sandwiched between them for the bar. where they do a peer review or a peer assessment, and they go out and they interview people. They want to know who said it. They also want to get the briefs of these child molestation, sexual abuse, pornography cases, and they wanted to know all of the information, to have it redacted. And Durbin said no. He's spoken to advocate groups and children's rights groups, and they said no, that information is never to be released. And it was the first time ever in the history of that process where they confirm or deny a SCOTUS candidate to ever have that done. Yet the Republicans wanted it done for the first time in history for a black woman who's being nominated for the first time in history. Go ahead.
To that point, I will say this. I think a part of it, though, is, and I hope I'm right, but I wasn't there, is that when you see stupid and you hear stupid and you know it's stupid, you just leave stupid alone. Like when people are talking, if someone, said, well, Lola, you're biracial. I know doggone well I'm not biracial. I got 2 black parents. But if you want to stand by that, I'm not going to argue with you, because you already let me know that you are stupid and you are dismissive, and since you are, just leave it alone. And I think a lot of that attitude has to be sit in you when you are going through something like that, because defending yourself to someone who just don't want to hear it,
right,
it ain't going nowhere.
Well, and you can't disprove a negative. You cannot disprove a negative, because that person has already made a decision.
I'm gonna say this: if they really, if it was a 5-year-old and a 75-year-old man, it would have come out some kind of way, because that's how grimy and vicious and unkind the Republicans.
Well, they have tried. They will not.
They have tried, and
they won't release the briefs.
Yeah, because it's a 16-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Well, and I don't know that, but I do know that we need judges on the bench that are not just looking at chutes and ladders and are making decisions. And they talked about her reversal rate. She's been reversed, per the American Bar Association, less than 2%. And the one case that they wanted to focus on, that she was reversed by the court above her, I think 3rd District Court, the U.S. Supreme Court, which is packed with conservatives, reversed it and ruled in her favor, saying she made the right ruling initially.
So she's already indirectly worked with these people. What's the problem?
So they already think that she has a good grasp of the law. So to me, the Democrats, and I'm going to end it here, this is where the Democrats fail. I think Klobuchar tried to do it, but it wasn't enough of them doing it. It wasn't enough of them. And the senator from Hawaii, her name escapes me.
I know you're trying.
She always says aloha. She was another one that said, okay, listen, her record speaks for itself, but you keep wanting to use this case. The U.S. Supreme Court sided with her, the same court that we're trying to appoint her to. So I wanted to use that because it's important for people to realize that this is not about her record. This is about her blackness. This is about the Republicans not being able to be a part of this historic moment. They wanted to appoint a black woman before. She was a conservative and it got shut down. For 2 years, they shut her down. They wouldn't allow her for 2 years to be confirmed. So they're angry. And Lola said it in the break, if it's not their idea, it's not a good one. And that's really where we are. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back. We're going to talk about Clarence Thomas. He ain't sick. He jail bound, I hope. And then we'll get into Lola's love life. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip.
Now available, T.H. Moore's newest novel, titled I Am, follows a young African-American couple who are forced to pick up the pieces of their marriage after the violent loss of their young godson at the hands of a local white policeman. The loss sparks not only their community's anger, but also the rage of a vigilante who initiates a nationwide killing spree targeted at corrupt police officers. New York Times best-selling author Omar Tyree praises T.H. Moore's new novel as an audacious story and read. Dr. Christopher C. Irving, CEO of the Miller Institute for Leadership and Diversity in America, calls it a daring story. I Am by T.H. Moore, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, and at thmoore.com.
I am Tiffany Burks, Democratic candidate running to become your next Tarrant County District Attorney. Our Broward County is at a defining moment where we decide who we are as a community and in our criminal justice system. With the mounting distrust of our justice system and of each other, far too many citizens question the fairness of the justice system. But we can bridge this growing divide and rebuild public trust by electing someone who has the courtroom and managerial experience needed to lead the district attorney's office, someone who has a reputation for being fair, and someone who is guided by an unwavering commitment to fairness, equity, and justice for everyone. And that someone is me. So vote for me, Tiffany Burks, during the Democratic primary. Early voting begins February 14th through the 25th, and Election Day is March 1st. A vote for Tiffany Burks is a vote for people, not politics.
All right, you just heard Tiffany Burks. She's running for DA. She won. I just wanted to make that statement. She's running in the primary against a Republican. She'll be the first black woman DA in Tarrant County. If she can pull it off in a red county, it's like purple. It ain't really purple yet. You know, they working on it. They working on it. All right, Clarence Thomas. You know they keep saying he's sick, baby. Let me tell you why he's sick. He's sick, as the kids would say. Clarence Thomas' wife, Ginni, the big Amazon, funny looking with the big smile. She is, it has been found out. You know, we had the whole deep throat thing where they talked about Nixon broke into the Democratic office, those of you that are history buffs or old enough to remember. And you had Woodward and Bernstein. Well, I don't know where Bernstein is, maybe dead, but Bob Woodward is still out here exposing it all, baby. So Bob Woodward and a younger investigative reporter from the New York Times broke the story that Ginni Thomas, Ginni, because y'all won't always fact check me, Ginni Thomas was conspiring, but through text with Donald Trump's chief of staff, which ultimately led to the January 6th insurrection. Now, there is a clip of Clarence Thomas, and in the weeks ahead, we'll get that clip, where he references his wife, Ginni, as his best friend. Let me just say this. I think that's weird as shit. When people say, well, he's my best friend. Look here. Now, my best friend went on to glory, and I had some other very, very, very good friends. There are things I told Charlotte and Charlotte's sister, what's up, Cheryl, that I'm not gonna tell my man, cause that's my best friend's business. That ain't
my man's business.
So these people who go around saying, he's my best friend, she is my rock, she's my best friend. Y'all don't have no friends.
But two of my very close friends, Cam and Tanya, who are married, they say all the time, they're like, you know, they're our husbands and we love them and they are a friend. But their friendship with our group of friends, and because we are all very close best friends, is, you know, that's definitely separate. And when you say he's your best friend, it's like you don't need nobody else because, you know, you got him and he knows everything.
And
it's
he
like,
can't, but you know, let me say this. Maybe I'm just shaded because it's some stuff he ain't got no business on.
No,
I mean, you know, that's between me and my girls. And
if
I have
your best friend, I ain't telling you nothing because you go back and tell your best friend.
There you go. And you know, I have some sorority sisters from Omega Alpha Omega, a lot of Patrice Tueri, that are just, I mean, we are very close. We are very close. You know, and we are the best of friends, you know. But there are things that we share, even in our group, that everybody don't know. Like a lot of them, I'm telling you, I ain't told everybody. You know, even in your core group, and then beyond that group, it extends to Allison and Gayon and Asley. You know, like that group grows, and we all have our own little stuff within the group. It doesn't mean that we're not talking behind each other's back and all that. It just means that that person is closer to in that moment, and I think that people have that in their relationships. But him is my best friend, and me and my boo talk about a lot. We are very close. I know it's a whole bunch of stuff he don't tell. Now he tells me a lot, but I know he don't tell me everything.
Now my sister is my best friend, but I feel when it comes to best friends, though, it's a non-judgmental thing. Like I can tell my sister anything, and I know for a fact she's not going to judge me or question me and be like, well, you know, what kind of person are you now?
Right.
Like, she's like, I mean, hey,
it happened.
It happened. What are we going to do to move forward?
Right,
or do you need the bleach to clean up the mess you made? Like, what exactly
we gotta
is
get a
this?
team over. And I mean, and my boo is he ride or die now, true. And you know him, he is ride or die.
Cool.
He is ride or die. I know we don't tell each other everything. That's all I'm gonna say. I mean, we tell each other a lot. And he is the one that we Corey, I don't think you should have done that. But and he's willing to help fix it. But still, I think you need some mystery in your relationship. We're going to talk about relationships in just a minute because Lola does have something to say. But let me say this about Clarence Thomas. He is not sick. Ain't nothing wrong with him physically. It's his mind. Because his wife has been outed. She was conspiring with Donald Trump's chief of staff. They were talking to each other that this was a fight between good and evil. Donald Trump being the good. Now, child, you know how delusional you have to believe Donald Trump is good for anything. And
now when he's grabbing people by the
coochie. And so my boo just texted me and said, I don't want to know your little stank ass business. I don't want to know your little stank ass business. So, to my point, and so now the reason we got into this best friend thing is Ginni Thomas says that Clarence Thomas, Bojangles, maybe he ought to go to the courtroom with some tap dancing shoes on, because I won't call him Uncle Tom because that's unfair. Uncle Tom took care of the slaves. I don't know, white folks distorted that and tried to make him be something that he was not. He looked out for the slaves, and he played the little game with the masters to try to protect the slaves. Let's be honest about who Uncle Tom was. Let's not play those games. Clarence Thomas, he's Sambo, he's the Bojangles. He actually, when it went to the Supreme Court, and I think this is really important, that's why he's sick, is when it went to the Supreme Court about whether or not that those files should be turned over to Congress as they are going through this insurrection hearing, out of 9 justices, Clarence Thomas was the only one who dissented or said or voted no. Because and I believe it's not just wife. Let me go back to the best friend thing. She writes in the text to Donald Trump's chief of staff, and I was talking to my best friend. He knew what was happening. He knew what was being discussed. So Clarence Thomas ain't just sick. He's sick because they have been outed, and now there is discussion about whether or not. So they have both turned over their text messages, the chief of staff and Ginni Thomas, the Amazon, and they are now investigating those text messages. She sent him 21, him being Donald Trump's chief of staff, and he sent back 9 inflammatory, incendiary, questionable texts that ultimately is believed to be what the participation, I should say, of January 6th. There is no way to make us believe that Donald Trump's chief of staff wasn't going in the office talking about Ginni Thomas said, because she is considered an activist and a political consultant.
Oh, yeah.
It should have been a conflict of interest a long time ago.
A long time ago.
But she kept saying that there was no conflict there. So here we are. I just want to say this. I need Jim Clyburn to go to Joe and say, listen, you done screwed up on this HBCU thing. Donald Trump was giving money. You done shut that down. Ain't no reparations. Black folks still having to pay taxes and pay to go to the doctor. They could just fix it by telling us we didn't have to pay no more taxes on your property, on nothing. You ought to have a card. You go to the grocery store, you don't pay no taxes. Like, that's what we ought to be doing. You don't have to give us no money. Just help us keep the money we have. Hello, somebody. So there are ways to fix this reparation thing.
Oh, absolutely.
And let's be clear, we are the only race of people that has not received a monetized apology from the federal government.
Nope.
And when Barack was in there, and I said ner, not there, in there, he said that America could not afford to give us reparations, and we make up 2.9%, $2.9 trillion of the GDP. That's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm gonna move on. I just want y'all to get it in context. So now I need Jim Clyburn to go in there and say, Thomas is on his way out, scandal, because he's going to resign. He gonna resign under health issues. You understand? And they gonna cover it up and they gonna let him make it because he's a justice and you don't want that scandal. He's a Republican. Let me just drop that in there. They always somewhere talking like they be talking about homosexuals and then they go in the bathroom and they tap their feet. They are the most hypocritical group of people. Now we need a black man to replace him, a Democrat black man. I need a black woman and I need a black man because let us not forget, y'all just out here championing the cause of Barack Obama. Everybody do their thing if that's what you want to do. But he put Sonia Sotomayor on the Supreme Court and not anybody that looked like us. I need Joe. Way to go, Joe, to put a black man on the Supreme Court with this black woman, Kitanji Brown Jackson. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back and get into Lola's love life. I'm going to stay on this Clarence Thomas thing, because, baby, I dislike Clarence Thomas like God dislikes sin. In a minute.
I am Tiffany Burks, Democratic candidate running to become your next Tarrant County District Attorney. Our county is at a defining moment where we decide who we are as a community and in our criminal justice system. With the mounting distrust of our justice system and of each other, far too many citizens question the fairness of the justice system. But we can bridge this growing divide and rebuild public trust by electing someone who has the courtroom and managerial experience needed to lead the district attorney's office, someone who has a reputation for being fair, and someone who is guided by an unwavering commitment to fairness, equity, and justice for everyone. And that someone is me. So vote for me, Tiffany Burks, during the Democratic primary. Early voting begins February 14th through the 25th, and Election Day is March 1st. A vote for Tiffany Burks is a vote for people, not politics.
Asking me where I wanna be next to you. Baby, I'm thankful for the game that you're teaching me. I take it to heart. I want a piece of you. I wanna be yours. I wanna know what you think. And when we talk, what you feel. There is a problem, babe. Don't know if it's real or not. I know what I feel. I need some more of you. You and me belong together. I don't mind showing you it's real. I feel your heart when it beat. Me and you, we on the same team. I wanna be yours. I wanna be yours.
All right, and we're back. All right, so the lovely Lola is here, and we started this segment because, and it's just kind of grown a little bit. I like having her as a co-host, but Lola filled in for me, those of you that don't know, and so she was a co-host, and she talked about how she was going to be more intentional, I think is the word you used, in your dating life. And so Lola's now doing this segment because I have never internet dated in my life. I don't know what that looks like. And so I didn't know that if you swipe right, you like them, and you swipe left, you don't. And so I was swiping left, right, up, down. I was just swiping. And so she woke up the next morning with some undesirables in her inbox. And so I said, well, maybe we ought to talk about this because it's some more idiotic dating people out there that don't know what's happening. They swiping left, right, backwards, and forwards too intentionally. I had an accident. So Lola recently went on a date with a guy that I had a chance to meet, and I like him, and, you know, and I think they like each other, but they are dating. Right. But while we were talking, she was reminiscing about a time before that she met this guy, and they went out, and I thought it was hilarious, and I want her to share this story.
So basically, I met this guy. We talked a few times online, then we talked on the phone. Nice guy, and we went out once, and then he had to do a lot of traveling, so when he came back in town, he asked for us to meet again. He wanted to, you know, have dinner at his house, have something catered or whatever. So I was like, that's fine. So as I'm driving over his house, I get to his house, he realized he doesn't have something at the store, asked if I wanted to ride with him to the store. We go to the store, and on the way back from the store,
Here he come.
He gets a call. Now, his phone is hooked up to his Bluetooth. Now, I'm going to say this. I just feel like when you are on a date, just shut the Bluetooth off.
Just disable it.
Disable it. Disable it or just hit ignore. But anyway, the call comes in, and it's a woman, and she's like, where are you? And he's like, I'm out. Okay, and I'm not offended. Like, you are out. You're not lying. So anyway, she calls again, and at this point, he's going to have to talk to her. So she's like, he lives downtown. Let me say that. This woman lives in Frisco. She says she needs him to come over to her house. There's some noise, like some neighbors are arguing. She's feeling uncomfortable. Would he come to her house? His immediate response was call the police. She's like, the police is here. I just really am feeling uncomfortable. He's like, okay, let me call you right back. So we get out the car.
Is this his ex-wife?
I know. And he has been married before. Now, on the Bluetooth, it'll show the name in the car. So it said like Nikki admin. And he said it was his admin assistant. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking, why would an admin be calling you? It was late, too.
Because the admin administers more than just papers and coffee, baby. But go ahead.
Admin, I think, so, and it was late. It was like 9:45, 10 o'clock. So the admin.
Well, maybe she wanted some administering to her.
Yeah, that part. And it is, I mean, Frisco and downtown Dallas, that is a long drive.
Sure is.
At 9:50 at night.
It's a long drive.
So we get up to his apartment, and the food comes or whatever, and he has to go in his room, of course, and see what's going on. He's like, I really got to take this call. Not a problem. You know, he immediately comes back out and apologizes to me. And it's like, we're going to have to try this again. I'm really, really sorry. I'm going to have to run and meet Nikki
admin.
Nikki admin. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. So we had just got, so gas is high. Okay? It is very high. And I have an SUV. So I'm going to pack up this food. And I am going to take this bottle of wine too. So I'm packing up the food. He was like, please take the food that the chef made or whatever, because he had a chef. And I said, not a problem. So I made me a to-go plate. And I said, and I'm, and because I like sparkling water. So I took the big bottle of sparkling water and the bottle of wine. And he was like, oh, well, you keep the wine here for we.
No.
I'm going to take this, too, because I'm going to need this for tonight since I'm going on a date by myself. So I was like, oh, no. No, I know you don't drink this type of wine, and you got it for me. So
I'm just going to take it on off your hand.
Yeah, and I'm not sharing with Nikki admin. Yeah, we're already. I'm not doing it. So, long story short, I go home, of course. He texts to make sure I go home. I asked, did he make it to Frisco? He does. And, I haven't heard from him since, which when I was telling the story to Corey, I was like, do you really think it was an admin situation, or was she more than an admin?
Well, so here's my thoughts. She was definitely, see, this is the thing that men do. She very well could be the admin.
Right.
But their relationship goes beyond platonic and work. Mm-hmm. And so she's calling him. So here's a couple of things that happen. One, he's been out of town, right? He comes into town. He's not trying to see her. He has been sliding through, right? Mm-hmm. He's not trying to see her. Because in his mind, she has this function. Mm-hmm. The admin function or the run-through function, whatever that function is, but it's not the person that he sees himself with. Mm-hmm. He's still actively dating. Mm-hmm. He very well may even be dating her, but she's supposed to understand that the bar is set. Mm-hmm. What she did was created a situation that he would have to solve, mm-hmm. because she wanted to see him. So the whole thing about I'm scared and can you please come over was because she wanted to lure him away from whatever. The problem with that is you don't want to date nobody that dumb because he too dumb to even take care of his business.
Right.
So he's going to always have some stuff going on because he's not intelligent enough to keep his stuff tight.
Right. And I think there should have been a boundary. I think people create boundaries early. Like,
if they're smart, but sometimes that doesn't happen.
So because she's comfortable calling this late and comfortable wanting you to come and help her, which means that you help her often. To me, you know,
he helps her and he helps himself to her.
Yes, and so
this wasn't no admin situation. I mean, there was things being administered.
Well, the mere fact that the police were already there, and if there's some noise going on in we all have lived in an apartment or even with neighbors, and the police are there. What am I gonna do when I get there? Like, if you call me,
hold her tight, and let her cry on his chest that the people next door are noisy.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Cause I'm just like this. So unless you're gonna bring her back to her, but she should have just came over. But
she can't because you there.
Because I'm there.
and what she also wants to do is demonstrate her power. So I mean, long time ago, I had a situation where the woman lived away and I was here, and so we had broken up. So all of her things had been thrown out and moved away. When she showed up after we broke up, she wanted to leave something to let me know that she had been there. But see, these people who play these games, they ill-equipped because some of us ain't out here playing the games. We coaches, you understand? Some of us don't do none of that. So she left a Tampax box and pulled one tampon out of it. So are you suggesting that you came on your cycle? Ma'am, that's not what you leave. You should have bought $50 worth of these because she was wearing a little cheap. Oh, excuse me, I almost said it. Little Bath and Body Works. I almost came out of my mouth. So leave a bunch of that. Restock your supposed shelf. Show your strength by suggesting that I'm coming back and these are all my things. No, but one tampon removed out of tampon bags, ma'am.
And that's
that's nasty. You're an idiot, ma'am. You're an idiot. You what you told me was, one, you don't know how to play this game, and two, you're unsure of your position.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Well, I will say this. And with dating online, because I was a little apprehensive at first, and I kind of, it's been kind of cool.
As long as I'm not swiping for you.
As long as you,
bless my heart. Bless my heart.
And I don't think you'll ever have to be in this predicament. But I've also noticed that you do get to know people first. Like, is this someone I do want to give my number to and talk to them on the phone? There was a guy, on one of the sites that I thought that I would probably have a lot in common with. He was a musician, graduate, whatever. But as we started to talk, the conversation about being in a relationship and being with him and all this was really super fast. And I thought, I don't really know him. He's going to be, in my mind.
Run!
Yeah, and so it's easier to leave that person alone than to give them your number, and now they're texting and calling and just taking you in a space, and you don't know them as a person. You don't know what they like.
That's a valid point, because when you do meet someone face to face and in person, you do exchange the number, and they already have a certain. Some people move too fast. I have a sorority sister. Everything she do is like Speedy Gonzalez, and at their house or whatever, and then you find out they crazy, and now they know all your stuff, know your mama maiden name. They've got too much information, and now you know they're crazy. I've always thought I'm afraid of meeting some crazy person online, but the truth is, you meet crazy people at the gas station.
Yeah.
Say, little mama,
You
he
meet
crazy
all the time. Crazy is there, and so
That's a good point. You shouldn't be afraid of internet dating for that reason, because at least you get a chance to communicate with them first.
Like, a guy that on their profile, if they say, I'm not about the drama, don't bring me no, they are going to be drama.
They dramacidal.
Because I don't have to tell you I'm not about the drama. I don't have to tell you don't bring me no drama, because everything I say about me shows that I am not about that. If you have to tell me that, I know you got a crazy baby mama and you kind of like her insanity. I know your ex-wife is crazy. You like that insanity.
That's right.
And those are the things, and that is fine. You don't like peace, and peace can't find you, so don't find it with me.
That's okay. Yeah. I think, but I never thought of it that way. Okay, so you haven't heard, well, since then you've been on other dates, so
and also because I even met someone where I definitely felt like he was and I met him twice on
two different sites,
but he was definitely like business networking. I could tell, like I think he
was looking at people's profile, but like, oh, I'm gonna
go to LinkedIn. I could tell, because he's like, oh, asking me, my background professionally and stuff, and I'm telling him because I'm thinking he's interested. I mean, it's not a secret,
right?
Online, but then when we do exchange numbers, and he's like, this is what I want to do with my company, and I'm definitely not the consultant for you. Like, this is not. And that conversation should have happened on LinkedIn and not on a dating site.
But he trying to do a power couple match, but he lacking some power.
Yeah, and you can also figure. I think there are a lot of things you can figure out, and especially with the age range, you can figure out what people are really into. I think people around my age, maybe from like 33 to like 40, are definitely ready to be in relationships, but definitely have an idea of what that looks like. A guy once said to me he was ready for the Oprah and Stedman situation. I said, so do you not want to work, or am I supposed to make more money? I didn't know what that meant. I mean, you definitely don't want to get married.
Right.
And he's like, and actually his thing was he was definitely interested in having like a common law wife, and he really did not want to get married, but he kind of wanted that power force where everyone knew him and this person were together. I think he has a lot of triggers. So he wanted
commitment
without,
but wanted to exclude the actual commitment part of it. Like he wanted to be committed without the commitment.
Right.
Yeah, that's
And he's like, even I said, they do live together, and he's fine with that.
But
and
not really. Stedman got his place, and she got. I mean, they don't always cross pollinate.
And so he definitely. But it was interesting. He was open in telling me this, and I was intrigued.
Girl, he was polyamorous. He was gonna tell you he wanted you to have a sister wife.
And I mean, there a guy from Baltimore was here in town, because you can click where you at. I went and had drinks with him, and he definitely told me about two of his girlfriends. They all live together.
And he's still actively trying to recruit.
And actively trying to recruit. And the thing is, it wasn't like in pimp style, because in my mind I'm thinking, are you like a pimp, or like what is this about?
But how much money do you have to earn to be able to take care of a bunch of women?
Very well. Well, he works in IT, and he like has his own software company, something. He does a lot of stuff with government, and so
he's raking in the bucks.
He's bringing in the
to
money.
Take care of a bunch of adults.
But I'm thinking, I know I don't look like it today, but that night I'm thinking they're gonna be pissed because they're gonna get crumbs. What I'm not doing is compromising on my lifestyle.
I've had a friend who has been approached a couple of times about this, and she discussed it with me. And so one time she was like, I'm gonna see what this is like. And the wife did not want her to get any money. Like, they would pay certain bills, but she would not have any money. But they also didn't really want her to work. I was like, oh, this is why I don't know nothing about this. Because my grandmama said, if it don't make sense, it's a lie somewhere. All right, we got to end it there. This is Caught with the Black Tea Sip. We'll come back and talk about Lola's love life, because it's starting to grow a little bit.
Yes, I'm really excited. I'm really having fun with it.
Because I said to her, Lola, women, black women in particular, tend to meet someone, like that person, and then stop returning other calls. And she said, well, it's difficult when you like the person. I said, push through it. Push through it, because dating means you date until you find that person, or until you and that person have a conversation or something happens. I don't know that I've had a conversation where you actually become this couple, and then you determine what exclusivity or monogamy or what that looks like. You define the terms of your relationship. So Lola is actively dating, taking my advice. So we're having some fun with it. This is Corey with the Black Tea Sip, Lola, the lovely Lola of Lola's Love Life, and Angelo, who was not with us last week because he was evil Knieveling, but he is here now. And so future forward, we'll be here, same bad time, same bad channel. Join me again. Love, peace, and hair grease. And we're out.